was there at the Vancouver Film School one night after class. Michael Moses, who's now my touring opening act, he was in the same program as me and said, hey man, we're gonna go check out this open mic comedy night. You should come. And I went, I love stand-up. I grew up watching stand-up. Comedy Club 54, Just for Laughs, all the old like Dean Martin Celebrity Roast. I always loved stand-up, but I never knew how to get close to it. It was always just out of my grasp. And he's like, let's go to this open mic. We go, I sit down, I watch maybe 30 seconds of the show, and I'm like, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I just knew. It was like, for lack of a better phrase, it was an aha moment where I was like, this is it. I literally, the show was over, I walked up to the guy running the show and said, hey, my name's Eric Johnston. I'm a stand-up comedian from Toronto. I just moved here, which was a lie. I had never done stand-up before in my life, but it just came out of my mouth. It was like divine intervention. Something told me to tell this guy I already did stand-up. And he goes, who do you know? Who do you work with? I knew some guys from Toronto from being an actor who were also stand-ups. I went work with this guy, cool. He said, come back next week. You sound like you're pretty confident. I'll give you 7 minutes. So I had 1 week to 7 days to create 7 minutes of stand-up comedy. And I did it. The jokes were not very good, but I was confident because I had been on stage since I was 6 years old. The idea of going up there didn't scare me. I just went up and just told a bunch of kind of half-written jokes. But because it was an open mic,
it's so funny.
Because it was an open mic, the promoter assumed that, yeah, he's confident. Obviously, he's a comedian. He was just trying a bunch of new stuff tonight.
That's amazing. Oh my God.
He didn't realize it was my first stuff ever. And I went, I came off stage, said, great work. He goes, you have to work on a couple of those things in the middle. I went, yeah, I know, they're new. And he goes, come back next week, come back next week, come back next week, come back next week. That was November 1st, 2010. By the first week of December, I was doing 3 nights a week at the top comedy clubs in Vancouver, like the Comedy Mix, the Yuck Yucks, the Comedy in Kitsilano. I was doing 3 nights a week on top of going to school all day. And I literally, other than COVID, have not stopped since. Since that first show ever, I've never stopped. I've since gone on toured Canada back and forth 3 times. Sold out shows at the Laugh Factory. Opened for Russell Peters at the Comedy Store in Los Angeles. I opened for Sebastian Maniscalco, who's a big hero of mine. Shows in Detroit, Chicago, Atlanta, Nashville, South Florida, Los Angeles, all across Canada. 10 years. I've never stopped. Even in COVID, I didn't stop. I did the online shows and I did the reduced capacity shows. Stand-up comedy will stop for me when I'm dead. That's it. Everything else can have its ebbs and flows, and oh, I haven't auditioned a lot lately, or oh, I haven't emceed an event, or I'm kind of stepping back from Clubhouse. Whatever that is, those are all kind of secondary, auxiliary things. I am a stand-up comedian, and that's what I do, and that's what I'm gonna do until I don't have the ability to speak. But even if I don't have the ability to speak, I'll become a sign language comic. I cannot stop.
I was picturing, this was so dark because you said you do it until you died, and I'm picturing your funeral, like it got really morbid, and like your coffin is in a stand-up position, and then you have all these comics next to you, like, right? Like, hey guys, this is one of his top jokes. I don't know, that got weird in my head. But
well, it's funny when a lot of comedians die, it's usually hilarious because all of their best friends do time. They do time at the funeral, not like jokes. They tell stories about the person. And most comedians' funerals are hilarious. You know, like when